Hey guys, so I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel where I discuss gold and silver coins and prices from back in the day through books. So most of the books I'm going to cover are going to be nonfiction because that's what I like to read. Some might be novels, but I'm going to start with this book, A Tramp Across the Continent, because this is what started me to wanting to make this kind of series. So I'm going to discuss this book a little bit, and here are some of the coins that is mentioned in the book a little bit, not all of them, but I've brought out some of these as display pieces so that you can kind of get a better grasp. So I'm going to go through this book and I'm going to highlight the parts that I found interesting and also the parts that we're going to talk about coins or maybe prices. And that's how this new series is going to go. So I hope you enjoy this. This is episode 1, A Tramp Across the Continent. So this is A Tramp Across the Continent by C.F. Lummis, or Charles Fletcher Lummis. And this is the first edition. You can see 1892. So you don't see any kind of other second edition. This is the first edition. And I'm already finished with this book because I read the ebook, but I want to kind of go over it a little bit more. But this is on eBay right now if you're interested in purchasing it. And I recommend reading the ebook. You can go to Google Books, just Google Tramp Across the Continent Google Books, and you can read this for free. But if you want the physical copy, I have it here. So I'll show you a few parts. And here's a bookmark I was using. Check this out. I found this inside another book. I forgot what book I found it in. But this is a bookmark from 1958. That's pretty cool. And it's in like new condition. All right, so let's get into it. So this book is a very easy book to read. It's 270 pages, and it took me about 5 or 6 hours to read. But it's very easy to get hooked to this book. The way he describes his interactions with Native Americans, I think mainly the Zuni, the Navajo, the Pueblo, the Coma, and some other tribes, is just fascinating. And also, he meets a dog named Shadow, and the dog attacks him at first, but then becomes his best friend and travels halfway across the continent with him. He also meets very interesting people, so the entire story is worth reading, and I really do recommend this book. So, this book is said to be a sort of journal detailing his journey on foot from Cincinnati, Ohio to Los Angeles, California between September 1884 and February 1885. He travels pretty quickly in the beginning of the story, leading me to think that not the first half, at least not anything prior to Colorado, was actually on foot. Maybe partial of it was, but once he got to Colorado, it seems like it's pretty on par for the way that he mentions everything, his travels and everything. I just wanted to kind of say that. So he probably took the train a good bit until he reached Colorado. But to me, this book is a treasured time capsule detailing the Midwest and Southwest America in 1884, which 25 years prior was Spanish Mexico, and that was far back as the early 1500s. Native American territory, even that probably 10 to 14,000 years prior. So the first thing I found interesting in this book was the money he brought with him. On page 5, he writes, "Hung by my belt, in a money belt next to my skin was buttoned $300 and $2.50 gold pieces, which are quarter eagles, which would not suffer from the perspiration as paper money would, and was as small a denomination as was necessary in a trip where changing a $20 piece would cost me my life in 100 places." $20 gold piece being a double eagle. A lot of money back then. And something to note is that in 1884 and until 1933, a $2.50 gold piece or a quarter eagle was literally $2.50. $2.50, like the price of a soda at a gas station or the price of a McChicken at McDonald's. This was $2.50 back then. Now this is 420 odd dollars. And there's a ratio that I use. I've never heard anybody else mention it, but so this is my kind of ratio that I came up with. And it's the O2C gold dollar ratio. And the way that I count it is O stands for original, the original price of gold, which was $20.67, and the current price of gold, which is $3,461 as of August 29th. So the current O2C ratio is 167. How you get that number is by dividing the current price, which is 3,461, by 20.67. You get 167. So the dollar has decreased compared to gold 160 times, 167 times fold. So when this was, if this was still connected to uh, the dollar, $1 would have the purchasing power of $167. So imagine that. Your rent would probably be around $8. $8 could pay your rent if it was still tied to gold. But now, since the dollar has been removed from the gold standard, $2.50 in gold purchasing power in 1933 is now worth 1 penny in paper purchasing power in 2025.
That's a decrease of 99.994% of purchasing power.
Since it was tied to the gold dollar. So just that's something that blows my mind away, and I describe that to a lot of people like I work with and people that I talk to, and they don't get it. So I don't know if they kind of understand my mumbo jumbo, but what used to be $2.50 in paper is now 6 cents, and what used to be $2.50 in gold is now 420, roughly. It depends because the current price of gold changes a lot. So that's what first hooked me as a reader. I was hoping that he cataloged each coin he spent along the way. That's why I really got hooked into this book as much as I did. He doesn't really mention the coins a whole lot, except for when he talks about the jewelry pieces. So that's mainly what I'm going to be talking about for the rest of the book. Or for this video. So I read this entire book in about 3 days, and I also did a lot of research during those 3 days. So I really went ham. Don't laugh. But I really went ham. I really went hard studying with this book. And like I said, for the 3 days that I read this book and studied it, it became me. I felt like I was in the book. Another part that I found interesting was the way he described the demise of the gold miners in the areas in the around Golden, Colorado, and New Pacers, Colorado. He detailed a lot of the prospectors and gold miners who traveled to the West in search of gold deposits, ended up living there broke and somewhat happy and pleasant. And most of that is described on page 50 to 80, 81. So when you get to that part, those 30-ish pages, it really details the life and the kind of Midwest, the people that he met. Because this story, to us, this is a nonfiction story. So I'm going to take his word that all these interactions actually happen, and that's the way I kind of hope it is too, because that's the way I treat it. Because he said that this is his experience. To me, probably the best part of the book, where he's describing gold and silver usage with the Native Americans and with the jewelry, was when he entered Santa Fe. He really went into a good description. Here's what he said starting on page 99. The characteristic industry of Santa Fe is the manufacture of Mexican filigree. It is very interesting to watch, as anyone is welcome to do in the various processes through which the precious metals must pass ere they emerge in a shape of that wonderful jewelry which is so widely renowned. In showcases, you may see countless bracelets, chains, napkin rings, card holders, card cases, earrings, breastpins, hair combs, and other articles in gold and silver. The gold and silver is melted from coin in a crucible and cast into ingots about 12 inches long and about a half an inch in diameter. This is repeatedly passed between powerful steel rollers and slots of gradual sizes, and at every pass becomes slenderer and longer. And it is taken into still finer rolls and pressed again until once the ingot has become scarcely visible wire, thousands of feet in length. Another part of the book that's interesting is when he's invited to a Fiesta de los Muertos, which is a Pueblo festival of the dead, where they celebrate the death of an important person in the community, the same as a funeral. And here's what he said. Under their arms, the commonest fraction currency of the Pueblo, the sheepskin, worth 10 or 15 cents according to weight. Some brought coins of the realm. These were the wealthiest Pueblos as well as the largest. I guess he meant plump. And that was, I think, page 145. And here's some more interesting parts. On page 214 to 215, the simplest form of silver ornament is the button, a decoration of which both races, which he's talking about Pueblo and Navajo, are intensely fond of. Neither use the buttons as a legitimate role of constraining intimacy, with a buttonhole. We use them as a button. Some of them wear American vests with American buttons, but homemade silver buttons are reserved solely for the purpose of decoration, not repression. It serves to set off moccasin, legging, belt, pistol belt, gun scabbard, saddle, bridle, and also a little leathern pouch where it goes in lieu of bullets. The commonest button is made of a silver dime. So I'm guessing he's talking about seated Liberty dimes like these. Strongly arched, polished smooth, with a tiny eyelet soldered down and a concavity under the side, far beyond the reach of a needle, therefore fastenable only a ye thong of buckskin. These dime buttons are largely used in decorating the edges of a broad strap or similar articles. Buttons made of 25 cents, which quarters. Again, what would be seated Liberty quarters? Sorry, all mine are pretty beat up. And here is a pretty nice seated half dollar. And those of half dollars are worn as simple ornaments at the knee or throat. I have seen a veritable Navajo with 20 buttons fastened to the weld seam of each legging, each button made of a quarter with the die perfect on each side despite the round form. Some descriptions that this author uses is kind of weird. Maybe it's just that this is written in 1884, but here's something else he said on that same page that I read just prior. Some of the ultra dandies have a shoulder belt of them besides. In horse trapping, a well-to-do Navajo is particularly gorgeous. Besides a large weight of sundry silver ornaments on his saddle, his Sunday bridle is one mass of silver, and but an infinitesimal fraction of the leather substrate is visible, and is nothing uncommon to see $40 to $60 in weight in silver on one bridle. That's massive. From pages 219 to 222, he wrote that all the Aborigines tribes of the Southwest put enormous value on turquoise, and it was their chief prehistoric currency. The prettiest necklaces were made of silver. This is a silver and turquoise ring. This one is probably from the 60s. That's my guess. I've kind of compared it to other designs, but this is a authentic turquoise piece. You can tell by the matrix. When you're looking at this kind of jewelry, first you want to kind of look at the tooling, and then you want to look at the stone. And the stone should be imperfect, and you should see some kind of marbling, like natural marbling, and that's what's called matrix. So this is probably a 60-year-old Native American piece. It doesn't have a stamp, but this is sterling silver with a turquoise stone. And I'll show you my wife's necklace. My wife has a real nice necklace too. And my wife right now is feeding our squirrel. So the squirrel's not a pet. We rehabilitate them. But I came in here and that's what's going on. So here's my wife's necklace. So this is probably about the same period, 1960s. But you can see this one has a stamp on the back. King, which I'm guessing that's from the Kingsman mine. But you see Sterling, King, and you can see it has a big turquoise rock right in the center, and it has the same kind of tooling that the ring I have has. So back to the book. One of the most notable Native American rings I've ever found here was made for me later by a Chitchi as a token of affection, and entirely on its own device. It was in the nature of a cameo ring, the cameo being cut from an American dollar, and it drives me nuts I wonder if it was a silver dollar or a gold dollar. I'm thinking gold dollar, with the Liberty head protuberant upon it. The silver ornament, particularly to the Pueblos, is a dress pin worn by women. The universal rule is with the Pueblos or Navajo smiths to charge as much for the work as for the silver. For instance, if you give them a silver dollar for material for a breast pin, you will give them another dollar for their labor. Okay, so for this video, I think I'm done discussing the book. I really hope that you get a chance to read it. It's a really good book. And here's just a side note of some research that I found with Pueblo and Navajo jewelry. Before the 1930s, Native Americans didn't use silver or gold as currency nor jewelry. Probably the first well-known Native American silversmith was Ati Asani in 1853. There was probably very little silver traded by the Spanish earlier than that, But with Manifest Destiny, the fur trade, the transcontinental railroad, the gold rush, and westward expansion, as those grew, the natives made more contacts with travelers carrying silver and gold coins, mainly silver. But gold was traded closer to the cities that had rail lines. So most of the Zuni, Navajo, Pueblo jewelry you see today is a result of a businessman named Fred Harvey. He was a Jew. He was a founding father of the company, Fred Harvey Company, a family business that ran a chain of trackside restaurants and hotels along the Santa Fe Railroad from Chicago to LA, starting in the 1870s. And he is said to help civilize the Wild West. He started hiring Native Americans and other natives to make jewelry and entertain guests for his company. In fact, there's a picture, I'll put it on the screen if I can find it, of Albert Einstein in a headdress. And the Native Americans didn't know who Albert Einstein was. And I think it was Fred Harvey explained to the natives who Albert Einstein was. They said he is the father of the theory of relativity. So they had no clue what the hell that meant. So what they called him is the great relative. So you'll see this picture, and that's Albert Einstein in a headdress with the Native Americans around him. And just remember that they called him the great relative. I thought that was very interesting. So I hope you liked this video. It was fun for me. I love the research, and stay tuned for more because I'm going to make more of these videos because I had fun making this one. Thanks. Like, subscribe, comment. I read every comment. I'll reply as much as I can. I hope you like this video. Thank you.